Hiya, so this is our first episode in our mini-series. We're going to break it down into 4 episodes. I've mainly done that so if you're looking for something direct, it's easier to access it, and also so I don't have to waffle for quite as long and you don't have to listen to me drone on. Before I get started though, I just wanted to say when we knew that Jasper was heading down his process route for autism, that I did an online course which I found super helpful and was completely blown away by the information, because there's a huge amount and the spectrum is vast. So what we share with you might not be the same for your journey, so just bear that in mind. Every child's different that's on the spectrum, which makes it quite incredible really. So although you might have similarities, you know, there's lots of things that Jasper does that another child with autism does not do. So just bear that in mind. But anyone that does want to reach out with messages, great, and thank you for the ones that already have. And I'm loving hearing some advice from some of the families as well. I find that really helpful, even if I just take snippets to help Jasper improve and get along. Is, you know, it's just brilliant. So the first thing I just briefly wanted to talk about was where it all started. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was not a good pregnant person. There's quite a few people that can vouch for that. I buried my head in the sand. I pretended I wasn't. I was in complete denial. I was an emotional wreck. However, I did think I had quite a good pregnancy. We were consultant led, which was fabulous. And I had a few complications. So Jasper was a very large baby. I had gestational diabetes for the latter half of the pregnancy. I had a low placenta, and ultimately we had an emergency C-section, and Jasper came 3.5 weeks early, which most people would say that was quite traumatic. We felt he came quite nicely. It was, you know, wasn't on the day that was planned, but there were a lot of things that could have gone wrong that didn't. So we were really grateful for that. And Jasper was fine. He didn't need any extra assistance. Within the first few days, he did not pass his hearing test straight away. Well, he did pass it, but it took quite a long time. And the lady said that actually that's because there's a lot of mucus build-up, especially when they're a C-section baby. And that would be why, not to be concerned. So we were fine with that. And he also had tongue tie. So he had the procedure within the first 2 days of being born, where they snipped the tongue underneath, because we were advised that was the best way to go. Ironically, when we had Todd, they said similar thing, and actually Todd, they didn't want to do the procedure. So I don't know where they are with that anymore, whether they do advise it or they don't advise it. When we had brought Jasper home, in all honesty, we didn't know what we were doing, and actually we lived a very active, busy lifestyle, and we just thought this baby was going to fit in around that, which actually Jasper did the complete opposite. He actually transpired that he had silent reflux. We didn't find that out till about 9 weeks, when I was at my wit's end, because I was holding this baby up 24 hours of the day. I couldn't put him flat at all. He couldn't feed easily. It was a really, really tough time for all of us, really. And I'm just very lucky that I have a family that are very supportive and very helpful. I didn't really get the support I felt I needed or wanted at the time from the health visitor, because they just advised me it's probably because he needed to poo. Which it definitely wasn't, because when we did get to the consultant, he put him on a lot of medication for antacids and digestive issues, special milk. We had to mix the milks because he had taste buds in, so he didn't like the taste of one of the special formulas. And it was rough for a year. You know, everything had to be doctored around his medication, and when he could be upright, when he was allowed to be slightly flat but not completely flat. And Jasper missed out on a lot of baby things. You know, he never got to have tummy time or laying flat because it just wasn't an option for us. But he did like the television. He loved to watch the visual side of things. I was quite concerned though, because he never wanted to make eye contact, and a couple of family members, we spoke about it as well, and that was something that did worry us. He also stopped just about the time we took him off the digestive medications because he was coping well with solids and a regular diet, and he would only eat a few certain things anyway. We noticed he stopped babbling, and at that point we then developed ear infection after ear infection after ear infection. But we jumped on it quite quickly with this one because we felt we'd waited too long for the 9 weeks to see a consultant about the digestive issues when he was a baby. And it transpired he didn't pass the first few hearing tests, but then he was passing really well. He did have glue ear, and it was to be monitored. When I went to get the referral for his ear situation, the doctor did speak to me about the fact he'd stopped babbling, and we started speech therapy. And because we were very open to whatever Jasper needed, and autism wasn't a taboo word when it was mentioned, we agreed and requested to be put on the list to have an assessment for the process to begin for his assessment for autism. I think I said that right, it might sound a bit complicated. And the waiting list for those things are 18 months. The speech therapy could start within the first few weeks. The process took 18 months before it would start, and then once it would start, it would probably take about a year because they gather a lot of evidence, they'll see a lot of specialists. So from this little recap, really, I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we experienced with Jasper from the start, just in case any of those things might relate to you. Or I know that we've got a few people that we talk to on here that actually specialise in investigating about autism, so I thought that might be useful to have a little bit of back information there. So at a year, we then began the process for the autism diagnosis and his speech therapy. And the next episode I will cover will discuss that whole process and getting the diagnosis and the information for that. So you can jump onto that episode now, or you can just digest the 7 minutes of waffling I've done for you right now. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. Bye. So back again here to natter away for our second episode, which is just probably going to be our shortest one because it's just going to talk about the process of us getting the diagnosis for Jasper. So once we'd had the referral and had the pre-assessments, we then started speech therapy. We did a course of them every so many weeks. I found them hugely beneficial because we went and had appointments with an amazing therapist. She worked one-to-one with Jasper, she worked one-to-one with me, she had me play with him, taught me loads of different techniques. She sent me home with packs of stuff that I could use at home, which I know it's hard because sometimes you just want to put them down and not actually have to pick them up, but I found doing that work with Jasper gave him that confidence and something that we could always refer back to if we were having a bad day, which would really help with him progress forwards. We also had a friend who was newly qualified, private specialist, and she came and did some one-to-one sessions with him, which I think just helped touch base at home, having someone new come in and an extra person work with him, which I think is really helpful, especially when you've got a child that is maybe not so good at socialising. So to have those appointments where they see someone regularly, so that really helped. We also had 2 consultant-led appointments, and they were for quite a long period of time, actually, about an hour and a half to 2 hours at the time. We had to take all the information that we'd had and gathered over the time since we got our referrals, and they would work with Jasper, and he had to do a series of exercises which then got marked in different areas. So just to highlight where Jasper might be falling behind slightly or where he was exceeding, and I was really apprehensive about that because I felt he wasn't probably going to be up to scratch with most of it and he might find it a bit demoralising, but actually the consultant was phenomenal with him and he really got him to work so fantastically, so that was really positive. We also had, sorry, I'm just reading my notes here to make sure I don't miss anything. We also had a couple of nursery visits where we had a psychologist go in and observe Jasper in his normal environment, which again was really beneficial for us, because one of the big things with Jasper is socially he doesn't communicate very well. To start with, they did think he maybe had a social disorder. So for him to go away when I wasn't there to be assessed and observed by someone in a school environment around other children really, really helped them see where he was at with his learning. And I was pleased that they did that. Then of course we had the pandemic hit, and I was contacted and asked if I wanted to continue with our therapy sessions via video, Zoom, or over the phone, which I said yes, because I was incredibly conscious that our time at school was fast approaching, and I really wanted to try and get the diagnosis for Jasper ahead of this time, because I felt it would be easier to get the help for him. So we had about 3 or 4 appointments via Zoom with psychologists, consultant and speech therapists, and after those 4, then with all the other information that we had together, we got the diagnosis for him. This was probably about 2 months before we started school, and just about the same time I was talking to nursery about getting his EHCP, because I had a friend who has twin daughters with autism, and she gave me the advice of really pushing for that early. The nursery were not too keen on doing it, because they said they felt they didn't have enough information, and without a diagnosis it might be tricky to get. But I did it myself. There is a lot of paperwork. It is hard to get through. I mean, it's like this. And you will answer a lot of questions more than once, and you will think there is no way I can do this. I'm never going to be able to answer them, but you can. And if you do and you get it sent off early enough, you will get them in contact with you straight away. Like our council were fantastic, and actually Jasper started school in September, and in October they had someone in doing a day's assessment with him, and that was during a pandemic, or just coming out of the pandemic, going back into the second lot of lockdown, and they have been brilliant to be in contact with. They've worked really well with our Senko at the school, so for us I would say it was real game changer to actually make that jump and do the EHCP. If you don't know what an EHCP is, it's an educational healthcare plan. You contact your local council, all of your documents are all taken in and watched and read, and they then will offer support for your child, whether it's financially at school or at home, wherever you feel you need it the best. And I think that is something really important to look into. I also just wanted to say that when I found out about Jasper, I did a course online because I wanted to learn more about the spectrum, because I had no idea about it. I also went onto the National Autistic Society and downloaded, they've got lots of free leaflets, and there's lots of books that you can buy. I bought lots. I found for us the NEMCheck protocol book was really vital, because it also ran alongside having issues with diet, and that is, I think, where a lot of Jasper's problems start. So over the next couple of episodes I'll mention a couple of others. I'll bring them in with me so I can show you, but I would say do your research. Don't go into it thinking I don't know how I'm going to cope with this, because it's not going anywhere, and there are going to be really hard days. There are going to be days where everything's great, and there are going to be days where you don't know what way to turn, and just having as much information really, really helps. So that's what I'm going to touch upon on today. The next episode I'm going to go through what we are doing with Jasper at the moment, and just let you know what he's doing, like day-to-day process of our lives, what he finds challenging, what works for him. Yeah, and I'll bring in those books, a couple of the books that I've read, so you can see what I've found useful. So I hope you have a great day, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye. Hi, everyone. So today we're going to talk about Jasper in particular, really, and our day-to-day struggles or routine, or how he fits in on the spectrum. some people might be able to relate to that. Some people might have a child that's completely different. As I've said all along, this is just our journey, but we were hoping that we're sharing our journey. It might help some others. I also said at the last episode, and completely forgot to bring out some of the books that I have read that I have found useful. So this one by Jessie Hewitson has been great. It just talks about all the different things that you might find come up with maybe sensory issues, mental health issues, different things that you just need to really look out for during their stages growing up, really, and how to cope with it, or who's the best people to deal with in that situation. So I found that one really quite helpful. I guess this one next. So this one I got from the National Autistic Society. It doesn't really apply to me in a lot of ways, but it's basically about how the teachers and the school will approach Jasper, and the things that they might do. I just felt that it would be a really good thing for me to have at home as well, so I can relate to the same things and be able to discuss that with Jasper. So that was my main reason for wanting to get that one. But it's super handy. Like, it will tell you about visual timetables that they might expect to see in school. We applied some of that to home things. It's full of information that is so helpful about how you can get them to communicate on the things they like at school, and what they want to be included on, and the routines. So from that side of it, it's been handy that I can use that with Jasper. So I can say things to him that he might have heard there, and then he is familiar with it and he can relate to it. I got this one also from the National Autistic Society, but it's by a girl called Rachel Pike, and I got this. I'm really fortunate, so we have great support around us as a family, so I don't really have to go into depths about this, but it helps you talk to people about the diagnosis, about talking to your child about it as they grow up. And a lot of people aren't in the situation that I'm in, with everyone being so accepting and helpful and understanding, and I understand that there are a lot of people out there who feel a bit lost and not really know where to turn or how to discuss it. So that was great. My absolute Holy Bible for me, which I got when Jasper was younger, was the Nemchek Protocol, and that is by Dr. Patrick Nemchek and Jean Nemchek, and it really talks about autism, developmental disorders, and that they start from a series of digestive issues, which I think with Jasper that really applies to. And actually, if I follow, which we do follow a lot of, the instructions in the book and the guides in the book, we do notice a huge difference in Jasper, especially with the oils that they encourage you to remove out of their diet and the oils that they encourage you to put into their diet. So yeah, that's been a huge help. So I just found the more knowledge I had, the more comfortable I would feel going forwards, because I just wanted all the information thrown at me. I also did an online course, which again I found super handy. I think you can get so many of them now, but I just did one that was specifically about autism and the spectrum as a whole, which covered loads of it that doesn't even apply to me, but it's just good to know. So I do really encourage you to do that. So day to day with Jasper, funny enough, I'm doing this video coming out of quite an intense week with him, where we've been zooming along, doing super well, and out of nowhere some really strong autism traits started coming back out. Now usually that affects him because there's been some form of change. It could be change at school, it could be change at home, and it could be only a small change with Jasper. He usually at the time copes really well with the change, so he will handle that situation fine. and then you get a ripple effect that comes later. So it's not always instant with him. If we have a half-term school holiday, he's fine with being off school, but by the end of that half term, he's really struggling with the change of routine. So he does excel with routines. He has a panic system that if he's feeling worried or nervous or stressed or anything that makes him feel like he's not in control, he wants to be at home. His home is his big thing. I've written down loads of notes about it, so I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss any. Food. Jasper's big thing is food. He doesn't like to try new things. I can probably count on, there's under 20 things he's probably ever eaten in all of his life, and that recently has improved, but he still is on those same 5, possibly 10 things, and we deviate occasionally. He is super sensitive. He does not like to feel like he's been tricked in any way, because I know some parents have said to me in the past, just trick them, they're children, you can manipulate them into it. No, you can't with Jasper. He has a vividly strong memory. He has done since he was really young. There is no tricking, and he does hold a huge grudge if he feels like you've offended him in that way. He is hooked on numbers. He could count to 10 and put them in an order from a ridiculously young age, and he counted to 10 before he said mummy or daddy. Numbers is his main thing. He does like phonics, he does like letters, and he's started to read now, which is fabulous. He's not keen on writing at all. It doesn't really float his boat, but he's incredibly aware he's not very good. He is hooked on video games, so if there's any gamers out there that have any advice on how I can bring that into his life in a sensible way. At 3, he completed a Disney game called Mickey's Castle of Illusion twice by himself, which I did actually email Disney about, and they came back to me with lots of encouragement and rewards for him, which was really nice. I think another factor for Jasper, which he copes immensely well with, is Richard spends a large amount of time away working. It's just part of his job, and it's hard for Jasper. It's got a lot harder recently, but he copes incredibly well, and he's very good at having a countdown of what things to expect. So he can work out that when Richard was away last time, he would be missing Todd and Jasper's birthday and Mummy's birthday, Halloween and Christmas, and then he'd be home. So he could understand that, and he was quite comfortable with doing the countdown. But as I say this to you, it changes all the time. So he is quite unusual in the sense of he likes routine, he likes everything to be rigid, but then he can completely dismiss something like he never even knew it, and pick something else up. So it's really hard to keep up with him. At the moment he quite likes Super Mario, but I think he's starting to come to the end of that phase now. He's always been a huge Mickey fan and Toy Story fan. In fact, I think Richard and I could probably quote all of the Toy Story episodes. Loves water, but then sometimes will become completely irrational and say to me, I can't have a bath tonight because the water's too wet. And it's really hot, and then he'll become very emotional. Doesn't like having his hair cut, but we have a fabulous hairdresser who comes into us and is very, very patient. Doesn't like having his fingernails cut, that's a trauma, or toenails cut. Has been very good with doctors because he had to have his tonsils and adenoids out recently, and he has also suffered really bad with ear infection, so he's been really good about that. We are soon to go to our first dentist appointment, but again, they're already being amazingly patient and saying the first few that we'll just bring him in and he can just be with me when I have an appointment, or just come in and see the place. So as long as we plan ahead for everything, we're genuinely okay. It's hard to try and fit in normal life. Like people say, oh, do you want to go for dinner? It's not quite as easy on a whim for us to do that. But actually I don't enjoy taking 2 small children out for dinner because I just think it's carnage. So yeah, that is where we are at. I've probably missed out things that I'm going to want to add in, and I will probably include them in the next episode that I'm going to do, which I'm going to really discuss the future and where I think we'll be, and my worries as a parent, and what is to come and what's on offer at this stage. So that's all really for today. I hope you found some of it useful. I'm sorry I've waffled on for a lot longer than I planned to. Bye. Hi everyone, today is our last snippet video. In today's video we are going to just cover what the future might hold, where we are currently, challenges that I think we're going to have to overcome, and where I'm at as a parent and my worries and concerns for Jasper as he gets older. At the moment he is doing absolutely fab. He's really settled in his school. It's a very small school, close-knit. They are incredibly supportive. I'm very aware we're coming towards the end of this academic year, and going into the next year there's probably going to be disruption and he's going to get unsettled. However, the school already have a strategy in place for that, and that is very reassuring for us. But I am ready for a few waves with him. I also don't think I mentioned in the last post that I did, or the last few posts that I've done, about Jasper having a really high pain threshold. He doesn't ever grumble if things hurt, or if he's feeling poorly. He had a lot of trouble with ear infections and tonsillitis literally every 3 weeks, and he would never moan. It would be to the point where he was really quite sick and we would get him checked, and he'd never grumbled once about it. It did result actually in him having a surgery in January, February, where they took out his tonsils. They did talk about doing grommets as well, but we were incredibly concerned about him having his hearing changed and that unsettling his balance. So we decided to hold off with that and see if his hearing and ear situation would improve from having the tonsils and the adenoids out, which so far. Going forwards, I know there's going to be lots of different challenges. I don't know if Jasper's going to go to secondary school, and that's fine. I don't know if he'll finish primary school, and that's also fine. We may have to homeschool him. At the moment he's blossoming, doing what he's doing, and that's fabulous. And I know I'm very fortunate to have a great support of friends, family around a lot. So Jasper feels very confident and settled, and I understand it can be incredibly hard if you don't have access to that easily. I would say that you can't sit still on these things. If you're in any doubt that your child might need some help, you have to be that driving force, and probably like a steam train for most of their life, because it's not a case of they just get put to the side or forgotten, but there's a lot of pressure on lots of people needing the support. And if you're not reminding people constantly, they can just get overlooked. It doesn't need to be that they are overlooked for any bad reason. Todd, I'm filming here. So could you just come out? I'm very sorry, Todd's just trying to get involved in the video. There is support out there though, so don't think by asking you're annoying someone. Ask as many questions as you can. Contact as many people as you can. Reach out to as many people as you can. If that's going to help your child and help you, then that's brilliant. This kind of leads me to my biggest fear. I don't worry so much about making sure Jasper excels in his journey through life. I know we have a brilliant group of friends, a brilliant family support, and everyone is dedicated to helping Jasper get whatever he needs. My biggest fear for Jasper is how the outside world will see him. Often I get comments like, oh, you'd never know, he's doing really well, which on one side that is a huge compliment. It means he's coping and he's confident and happy and he's excelling in what he's doing. On the other side of the coin, that's incredibly worrying, because he completely is misread, and when he has a meltdown or he has a struggle and you see the autism very strongly come out, I fear that he will be misread by so many people, and that scares me a lot, because, sorry, that's Todd. The world is not always a very nice place. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, and there are some really horrible people out there, and that is what scares me more than actually getting him the help that he needs, or him achieving in life, because I know I can be that driving force for him, but I can't protect him from the outside world, and that is what worries me the most. I mainly decided to do these snippet videos just to give an insight of our journey. Everyone's is completely different. I understand that you might be struggling in a completely different area, but please know that our inbox is always open to anyone that might need a bit of advice or just to vent to without any judgment. And if we can help in any way, we really will. And really just to make a bit more awareness. This year, Richard and I decided we wanted to do something to help with autism and the acceptance of it and the awareness of it, really. So this weekend, Richard is running his 50k ultra marathon, which is a big, mean feat. And next weekend, Jasper and I are running a 5k inflatable run, which we're completely overwhelmed because there is about 50 of us running it now, because I said to people at our equestrian centre that we were going to do it at Stables Life. I don't know if you follow that journey as well. And they've all come forwards and wanted to get involved. So we are all running a 5k inflatable run, Jasper included, next weekend. We do have a Just Giving page. Our link is in the bio. If you want to donate, that is amazing. If you can't, it's not expected. If you could just share maybe our link or our journey or our page, that would be fabulous. If you can't, then again, that's also fine. You know, we're not gonna judge people if they don't want to get involved. That is not a problem at all. I hope these snippet videos have helped at least one person, and I haven't drolled on or bored everyone for too long. I've tried to keep them short. I've tried to include a guided outline of how we went, and I hope it's helped you. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.